Kids, I'm going to tell you an incredible story, the story of how I met your mother. This is how it all began, and it's led us here. The right place at the right time. It's last call at MacLaren's Pub. Welcome everybody to a special edition podcast, or rather a conference call without the beer, for FanboysAnonymous.com, where the topic at hand is a retrospective look at the critically acclaimed television series, How I Met Your Mother. I am your host for this evening's festivities, Tony Mango, and I'm joined on the mic by a panel of fanboys of the show from the Dace Man Show here at Mega Powers Radio. Have you met Chris Dace?
Hey, Dace-tacular Nation, what's up?
We also have another fanboy here. Have you met Ronnie Brown?
Hey.
We have a fangirl here. Have you met Jamie Cifuentes?
Hi.
And we have the person who brought this all together. Have you met Robert DeFelice?
Hello.
And we also have you guys, and that's something that I want to bring up right now for anybody who does not know how these things work. We're going to keep this kind of loose and bounce around between different topics, and if there's something that you want to bring up and talk about, you can call into the show by using the Skype icon or dialing 760-512-7247, or that other number that we have for some reason popping up there. I don't really know why we have that, but it does work. So you can use that if you're interested in calling with that number as well. If you run into a situation where we have a lot of callers, we're unfortunately going to have to limit the time that people can talk. So when we have to cut your call off, we're going to lemon law you. So don't take that too personally to heart. But let's get started, shall we? I have one question that I want to pose to you guys that I need to know the answer to immediately. Seriously, what kind of a fake name is Cook Poo? So, obviously that's not how we're going to actually start here. That would have been a horrible way to start off the whole podcast. But one thing I want to do before we get into doing the retrospective kind of stuff is just go around in a circle here and not do a circle of screaming, or is it a chain of screaming?
It's a pyramid, isn't it?
Pyramid.
What we're going to do is we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen tomorrow night on the show. Just very generalized, and we're going to pick it back up a little bit later on and go more deep into the discussion. But do you guys think this is going to be one of those shows where everybody watches the finale and they're disappointed? Or do you think this is finally going to be one of those TV series like a Breaking Bad or a Seinfeld to some people, though some people kind of disagree about that, where we're all going to be satisfied at the end? I'll start with you, Dace, since you were the first introduced. Do you think this is going to be a good finale, or we're going to be disappointed?
It's kind of tough because, I didn't want to build it up too much in my head, so I've been not thinking about it since Monday night. But it's going to tie up a lot of loose ends, and it's going to do it in the grand fashion way that they only can. So like I said, I haven't been trying to think about it too much because I did this with Lost, and I freaking hated the Lost ending. So I'm just going to sit back, enjoy the ride, and I'm going in as a blank slate without too much overthinking because I don't want to build it up in my head.
What about you, Ronnie?
I agree with that. I also have a feeling that I'm going to end up crying like a baby because they've really shown this season that they do have a lot of emotional punches left. I mean, we'll get to more of that later, I'm sure, but the whole thing with the mother, possible theories, and so yeah.
Already choked.
Kind of lost track there.
Jamie, what are your thoughts?
I kind of also agree with Dace. I've had my fair share of shows where the finales are normally tend to be disappointing because it's just so hyped up in my head, and I'm just so psyched, and most of the time I'm let down. So right now for tomorrow's series finale, I'm trying to just watch it, like they said, with a clean slate because I don't want to go in and just have all my hopes up, and it's just people just, I don't know, I feel like nowadays TV writers tend to ruin things by overdoing things. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Robert?
I know one thing's for sure. I'm gonna cry like a baby.
Mhm.
Other than that, I'm trying to take it like Ted and the Potato Skins. I'm not trying to hype it up too much in my mind. I'm just gonna let it happen and hope it works.
Nice reference. Where there's going to be so many references out there. If you knew the amount of notes that I took, I rewatched from season 1 all the way to the end of season 8 just to prepare over the past couple days, and really caught back up with a lot of things. Reminded myself a lot about different stuff that I've forgotten about too. And thankfully I did that, because I'm sure there's going to be references on the finale that if I wouldn't have watched that, it would have gone over my head and I would have been like, damn it. Because there's one thing that I credit this show for more than any other show I've ever seen in my entire life, and that's their continuity. They have such an amazing show Bible, and they stick to that so well. There's barely any instances where something doesn't hold up from episode 1 until now. I think there's only been like maybe 3 things that people have mentioned to me where I haven't been able to figure out exactly how it would have made sense, and it would have just been like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's just a flub. Like, I know one thing that somebody had pointed out before was um, Marshall in one of the early episodes, might be like episode 4 or something like that. He says that he's never really gotten into a fight, and then later on they do that whole section where he beats the living hell out of Doug the bartender, and they flash back and show that he's been in fights with his brothers for all these years. That's one of the only ones that I can think of, but they've done such a stellar job when it comes to things like Lily can't keep a secret. Immediately, you know she can't keep a secret from the TV series, and they've kept that up until, 2-3 episodes ago, I think it was, where they finally let her keep a secret, which was kind of awesome. And Marshall being good at games, I don't think there's a single game that he plays in the whole series where he doesn't win it, or he's an outsider or something like that, playing Marsh Gammon, which I still want to figure out the rules of that, and I can't remember the name of the one that Barney plays.
In Atlantic City?
Yeah. All I know is you say Igna at the end, and you got to find the jelly bean. But for you guys, have you noticed that kind of continuity throughout the series? Have you seen that, like, they keep the same basic concepts, but they apply it to every little thing that they possibly can? They're playing Zitch Dog, and Marshall's the one who's kicking ass at that. And, Robin's got a pretty steadfast character throughout it. Barney references things from past episodes constantly. What are your thoughts about that, guys?
Well,
Well,
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
The only real screw up I can notice is Scooter in the episode where Marshall and Lily get married. His name is Bill, but I think later on in the season they say his name is Jeff, and they screwed that up. But outside of that, they are pretty tight as far as keeping all of the references and story plots together.
I agree. I think they did that's one thing I do give them credit for, is like keeping all the plot lines like, like flowing throughout the entire series. Like, there's times where they would bring up something and I'm like, oh my god, I completely forgot about that, and I'm so glad that they brought it up. Or last week's episode, when they finally ended the slap bet, I had completely forgotten about the slap bet at that point. Like, when he just like slaps him at the altar, I'm like, the last slap, like, and that's just something that kept going also throughout the series. I've never seen like such great continuity in a show before, and I give them so many kudos for that.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like even if you can find some kind of mistakes, you could just write that off and say, oh, future Ted may not be the most reliable narrator because he's remembering these things from so many years ago.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I mean, he screws up with the goat. He screws up with blah blah. Although he does figure that out eventually. And they still don't know what's going to happen with the pineapple incident. So that's another topic to bring up too, the pineapple incident. What do you guys think happened at that? I mean, they haven't really hinted too much at it, although there is something that I read, and I don't remember where I read it, so I apologize if it was like a blog or something of the sort. But something had said that Barney wasn't going to tell Ted what happened at the pineapple incident. So that kind of implied that Barney knows something.
I thought it was interesting that in Twitter, the producer on one of his last days, or not the producer, the head writer, he had a pineapple left on his desk. So I would hope he would mention it in the last episode.
I kind of don't want to know.
No, I don't think I need. You don't need to know. It's the great mystery of life.
That's going to be like the big questions are going to be what's in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, and what is Rosebud, and what's the pineapple incident, and all that. Any other theories about pineapple incident? We're going to touch base on that a little bit later too, but I want to throw that out before we go to our first caller of the night.
I've got nothing. I almost don't want to try to picture it. Just let the mystery go.
I agree. I think that's part of the mystery of the thing is that there's just, in real life, there's just nights that you don't remember, you won't recall, and there's only little bits and pieces that you can put together. And I think that's what I appreciate about the show is that although there are very unrealistic parts of it, there's just things about it that teach you so much about life, at least in my eyes, going through college and whatnot, and there's so much I can relate to the show, and I think the pineapple incident is just one of those things that, yeah, maybe you're not supposed to know, because in life there's just nights that you don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree with her, because I have had plenty of those nights where I've woken up with, in a bed sheet that wasn't mine in the middle of a beach. So, and no one has been able to explain it, and it's one of those stories where people just like have fun making fun of me.
We're going to go to our first caller from the 603 area code. Blah, blah to us right now, but tell us what your name is and where you're calling from.
Hi, would that be me?
Yes, it would be.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't realize I was going to end up going through.
So what's your name,
I'm
603?
a little surprised right now.
Who are you speaking to, 603?
Maggie.
Maggie. Hey, Maggie, what's up?
And I'm a huge fan of How I Met Your Mother.
Awesome.
So what are some things that if you're looking back at your favorite moments from the series, what are some things that pop into your mind immediately? Maggie, did we lose you? We might have lost Maggie there.
I think what happened
appears you're calling back into a live show. We are reconnecting you now.
All right, we apparently lost connection here. Blog Talk Radio is doing something a little bit odd with us. So Maggie, if you get a chance to call us back in, please do so, and we'll throw you back onto the line whenever we can.
Explain the origin of the pineapple, and it just cut off.
We're not supposed to know. So I apologize, Maggie. Like I said, call in whenever you get a chance to, and we'll throw you back on here.